Welcome to the Working Tools podcast, where today will be part 2 of our interview with Brother Bill Overy. Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our opinions and thoughts are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions, either here on YouTube or on our Facebook page. We'd also appreciate a thumbs up and especially any comments on our videos. Today on the Working Tools Masonic podcast, we'll be interviewing Brother Bill Overy, who's on the Grand Lodge of British Columbia and the Yukon Education Committee. I'm Very Worshipful Brother Matt Appel down here in a Master Mason down in Washington, and are joined by one of our other two usual hosts. David's not available this evening, but we have Stephen Chung, who's up in British Columbia. And Brother Bill, thank you very much for appearing again on our show to discuss your legacy project.
And so we were, when we left off our first episode there with you, Bill, we were talking about the mentorship program and the importance of it. And, you know, I think it's important that we continue on that. Tell us about, you know, how you decided what went into that program.
Well, the thing was that I'd like to point out first is that you were talking about the education officer. If he's running it, he's going to be in a burnout stage very easily. So what I did was I got it that the 6 steps part of the program is done by one person. Normally somebody that is a good conversationalist, and he looks after the 6 steps. When it gets to the last bit, he comes to me, where I will help him with the actual program that I've already produced. But as well, we have other people that look after him. When it comes to doing the ritual, for example, I don't look at that one, somebody else looks after it. So there's about 3 or 4 of us in the lodge that are looking after the new men coming in, and they are the real ones, that they're our future. We've got to look after them. And I find that some of them don't know which way to go, so we've got people that are helpful to them, and the lodge takes part in looking after them, not an individual. And that's how I finished up with the program, and that's the way it runs today.
Yep. And you know, we at Prince Charles Lodge are a testament to how well it works. Our guys that were looking for the education component, when they came in, they're very satisfied with the documents and papers that we've been able to give them as they went through their journey. And now as they've completed their journey to being raised as a Master Mason, these extra documents that we're getting now are pretty cool for them to continue their learning. And I'm sure some of them are going to partake in that correspondence course once we let them know about it.
Yeah, well, that's it. The correspondence course is a part of the project, and it's the only one that's not in the Freedom of Information Act. It is under my copyright. It's not mine to do it, but somebody else has handed it over to me. But if anything happened to me, it would go straight to Dogwood Lodge and they'd carry it on. They know exactly what it's about. But that is a useful tool as it goes through the 3 degrees as you go up.
Right. And now, so when you got this going in the lodge, and you know, how hard was it for you to find these 3-4 guys to help you out? And
they were there.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problem whatsoever. You find that there's people that have got different, like the person that trains them to do their ritual, especially they're learning the what do they call it?
The prove up.
Yeah, the prove up. That's what I got. I'm no good at that, but so I took the position of being the Masonic buddy. So I don't kind of guide them on it, but if they got a problem, they can just phone me up or email me, and I'm back onto them straight away. It's somebody that's there, but not there officially. So I'm the Masonic buddy, and I start sending out papers to them. You'll see that in the projects, it's called projects, bulletins from Bill Overy, and they're just little short letters that go out to them to keep them going. And so that I find it, and we have somebody that does that, and we all keep together. We're a team, but it's a good team, you know.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah,
that only 3 or 4 of us.
Yeah, that was the cool part. We found that once we did our first few guys through the program, they wanted to participate in the program, in delivering the program to the next class. And so they refer to it as a class, but for the next guys coming through, and so they got to become coaches and mentors themselves, and I think that was so cool.
And they learned a lot from it, because if you're doing that sort of attitude to them, and what I did, of course, when you've got this last year, the last part of the program is when they're Master Masons, and they go out and they
enlighten us about that. How's that one actually play out?
Well, it just means that if they've got a query, they come to me and I guide them. But I also make sure that everybody looks after them, and they know it. When we get together, when at the start of the lodge meeting, I introduce them to them. They obviously know him, but there's a lot of difference between knowing him and somebody talking to him. So I make sure that all of the guys that are there are going through. They're all made a part of the lodge, and they will meet friends and they'll sit with other people in the lodge when they become Master Masons. And that goes on for a year. And even if you think of the festive boards, they'll sit with them at the festive boards, and they start to make friends with everybody a lot more than they would do when they're a fellowcraft or even an entered apprentice. And this, I find, is a really way that they start to realize that they're not somebody that's an oddball that's joined the lodge. They are the lodge. They are the people. It's like Grand Lodge, for example. We are Grand Lodge. Grand Lodge is not something that's a separate part from us. And that's what my letters to them, the first one of the projects is letters I send to these guys, and they have it to read it's in the program for their mentoring program, and they learn that they go into a lodge, and they were surprising when they got there. They didn't know where they could sit when they became a Master Mason. So I said, come with me, and I'd sit with him somewhere totally different. I never sit in the chair where I normally supposed to be. I'm looking after all the others. Well, and they liked him.
Yeah, I think that's great. To have that Masonic buddy when you're coming through, that'll just has that ability to jump around and sit wherever it needs to make things happen. It's pretty cool, and I think it's such an important role. We do things in our lodge, like we don't let somebody sit by themselves, and so whenever we see a visitor sitting by themselves, we ask somebody to go and sit with them, etc. And to have somebody just making those younger guys feel more comfortable and thereby confident in themselves is also so important, because I know that one of the big things that we found was we had to spend some time on teaching them how to execute their signs properly, so that they felt like they weren't standing out like the guy who didn't know how to do it right, And
well, I do that.
right,
I'm the one that don't know how to do it right.
right, yeah. So
And it's important.
it is very important, and your whole program, step by step all the way through it is very important. And I shared it with these guys that are down in the States there. So I'll bet you, it'll find its way around down there, and eventually somebody down there is going to implement it in Washington too.
Well, there was ones in the United Lodge. They've got a copy already.
Excellent.
There's a lot of close bonding between all the lodges throughout the world.
Right.
And a lot of this goes differently. In Ontario, most of the lodges are Canadian. I never even knew till I came to Abbotsford that there was such a thing as an ancient lodge. I didn't know there was anything like women in the women's groups and the Job's Daughters and all that. Nothing like that. In
Really?
England, they didn't exist. Yeah. Even the Shriners have only just got in England.
Oh, wow. Wow.
There was nothing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Things that are different from different parts of the world, eh? I think that's
when I arrived in Montreal, and I had to have a board of trial, so they do it in a brasserie, which is a great idea. You can sit over a beer and have your board of trial. And they said, well, if you got it, we answered all the questions. And they said, have you got any questions? I said, yeah. What's that G in your ring for, in your Masonic ring? And there was a stone silence, and they thought, he doesn't know that. Well, in England, we don't have a G in the square and compasses.
Oh, really?
It's just not there. In fact, not this meeting, not this one. The January one explains it all about the G in the ring. And the Americans had it, and then they took it out, then they put it back in again. But now the North American ones all have the G, and the English still don't have a G in it.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm going to look forward to reading that one in January.
Yeah. It's called the letter G.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no, I think that the continuing education for these guys coming through definitely has a added value. And more than anything, I think the bonds that are created with the different guys as they go through plays an essential role in the bonds of brotherhood that they're going to experience as they continue on the journey. And I think, it's incredible that somebody like yourself spent the time to do the program and put it all together.
and use it.
I'm thankful.
Tell you what, the one thing that did happen, I was sending all of this paperwork out, the packages, and the one that you got, and I had a fellow craft from a lodge. I know the lodge, but never knew the guy, and he said, "I'm a fellow craft, and I'm getting bored because I've got nothing to do with this COVID-19. Is there anything you can give me to read, like you've been giving everybody else?" So on December the 1st, we launch the product, the legacy to the craft for the fellow craft. And it's got all the bits that they can't read out, and they can have another section. And 2 of them have got it now. They've been reading it. And he says, I haven't finished it yet. He says, but I'm only doing 2 papers a night. I've got to work. But I've got one for the fellow craft now, and I'll be launching that on December the 1st. So you'll get, I don't think I've got your email address, have I, Matthew? If I haven't, then I'd like to, could you send it to me? And
yes, sir, I certainly will. Yep, I definitely will. I was
contemplating if I should ask you for everything. I guess it's all electronic, right? So you can send it out without any cost to yourself. I don't want to have to pay to mail it all to the States here.
Well, I think I've already sent you the whole program, buddy.
The whole package. But some people can't use it. I shouldn't think that you're one if you're involved with this system. But if you wanted it in emails, you can have it. But the best way, I use WeTransfer, and I put them all into WeTransfer, and you've got 7 days, because I have a free copy.
but when you
you've got 7 days from when it arrives to empty it.
Right. And then when you give him your email, any of the updates that he sends out, you all get the update, right? So that's
yeah. And I'll give you the updates then to all the papers since that. But there'll be another one out on the 1st of December, and then another one out in January. But if you send me your email tomorrow, I'll put it straight into my package.
Yes, sir. I'll send it out tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to discuss now this other group of projects? These are the awkward ones to discuss quickly, but I will do that. I'm going to go quickly. These projects, when I was with Abbotsford, I got involved with anything that I could that was interesting and I thought needed changing within the lodge. Okay, I think sometimes I got a bit aggressive because I thought there was. So the first thing that I did was the letters to a new brother, and there's 1, 2, 3, 6 or 7, and these are for the guys that are going through, and they go in sitting lodge and they see these row of guys with aprons and everything. This tells them what the aprons are, so who's going to be in lodge, where they sit, what the pillars and the columns mean, the jewels, the cuffs, and the Masonic etiquette, which I thought was something very important, because they have to know what they're doing in lodge, what Grand Lodge does, because everybody thinks it's kind of second only to God, and it's not. It's a part of us. We're all a part of it. And the aprons that you're going to see in lodge, all the different ones, and then charity, because charity is a slightly different meaning. We all have our own personal charities, but charity itself at a Masonic level is a different sort of thing. So you get all of that. There's also a lecture, which is for the general public. I come from an area in Abbotsford where, let's say, we're not really accepted. So I got the local library, who have all my books as well. They were happy to do a lecture for me. And I did this lecture on the thing, and it was surprising. We did it all, and none of this it tells you how to go to the library or to anything, what to set up, how you can do the layout, that sort of thing. And if you're interested in telling them, then the next one was how to keep a record straight. Abbotsford Lodge's building is over 100 years old. It's all wood, and it's kind of, the chances of having a fire are pretty darn good. Electricity is always a bit iffy, you know. So I got all of the papers, everything, every record that the lodge has got, and we transferred it into the local library. Library the official library of the museum in Abbotsford, and they looked after it all professionally. Dead simple. They could find documents that I asked for quicker than I could because they were professionals. So they're all safe now, all the old Bibles and all of that sort of thing. And there was a letter to a prospective cast name. This is a part of your 6 steps. A letter you're going to send. He explains it all to them. So I did that. And I put it into a PDF book that you can put on your tablet. And most of them have got tablets, and I found out it was a useful dodge. And it's a similar format to the lecture and everything, but it allows them to read through it. And this is for somebody prior to them becoming even a Freemason on the entered apprentice stage. They're that simple. It just explains what it's all about. I did the empty chair ceremony. I don't know if you know what that is. It's an American thing. Matthew, you should know what it is. It is for anybody that died. And I did it in our lodge, both in the lodge and also outside the lodge for the general public, because a lot of the members wanted their wives to be in Ireland. So I had to take a room in the museum, a lecture room, and we did it all in there. And we got we all invited all the Legion and all of those for it. And in fact, when I was with them, with the government, it was the girls, the guy brought his secretary with them, and it was on Facebook before we left the building, which is amazing. But we used the American program, and I joined it with one from Nova Scotia. So it's basically the same sort of concept. And we used somebody that died in our lodge at D-Day. So, but you can do it to all the people that died in the town. But that's an interesting ceremony. But the ceremony and how to lay it out and all what you read, it's all written down in each one. As I said, there's a PDF ebook, which pass it on. It involves the history of Freemasonry in the first part of the book, and it deals with it in the Canadian. But you, Matthew, could change it when it goes into the American side, so that it could put it on the American part of it. And if you wanted help with that, I'd be very willing to help you with it. I'd be only too keen, because it is in PDF format. I don't know if you can get into the PDF format to change it, but I think you probably can. And anyway, and then at the end of that, it leaves it right the way through going into 1717, when it became actually the first Grand Lodge of England. And then it includes going over Canada and eventually into BC, because it was written specifically for these. And I put a few pictures of famous Freemasons, and of course I use Canadian ones as well as the general ones. And the other one is what is Freemasonry, and there's no secrets. It's just the structure of Freemasonry as we know it. So it goes all through, just explains it all to somebody that you were trying to explain it to, that has come to you to say, look, I'd like to be a Mason. What's it all about? Well, you can give them a book now. It's as easy as that. Another one was Solomon's Tracing Board, which is a Masonic education correspondence course. It's in 3 parts. It's in the Entered Apprentice, the Fellow Craft, and the Master Mason. It's useful for us older members to what we've forgotten. So when I gave it to Most Worshipful Brother Bob Messine, I don't know if you know Bob Messine, he was the past Grandmaster. He took it and he thought it should go to everybody in BC. Of course, it never got that far, but it's good. The course is free, and you get ever such a flashy certificate when you do it. And I post that off to you, but it's all done on an email. And if you've got a problem, I've got a free phone, so I can call you. So you could take it, Matthew. You've already got Americans that have taken it, and it's a useful tool to use with. It's an open book system. You can't lose.
And if memory serves me correctly, Bill, you don't care where your students come from in this correspondence course. So if Matthew and the other guys down there started spreading the word, and you started getting people from all over the place, that probably put a smile on your face, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Matthew, if you did it, you wouldn't be the first. I've been down in the States already. I've done them in England. I've done them with people that are coming backwards and forwards in Germany. So it's a useful thing, and I'm happy to do it. It's a part of my life now, and that's it.
I might just do this correspondence course just to say I've done it and know what it is, so I can recommend it better.
Yeah, recommend. Yeah, and the other thing is, the shortest time that anybody's taken to do it is 1 day. But it started at 6:30 in the morning and finished at 9:30 at night. That killed me. That did.
I'm just afraid that I won't know the answers. And having been a past master and a past vice puissant and been a member for over 20 years, I should know the answers, right?
No, because you're given a paper that explains it all. And all the answers are in the paper. You don't have to go to other books.
Okay.
And if you go through it and say, I can't remember that bit, you can pick the paper out and go, oh, that's what he meant. And you write it in again. You can't fail.
All right.
Okay, some people do make mistakes, but we have a laugh about them. And when we phone up and I say, you really screwed that one up, didn't you? The most common one is, what's the name of King Solomon's father? Well, of course, it was David. And the number that put King Solomon's wife in is amazing. But then that's it. And it takes you, the average guy can do it in a month easily. And but some take 2 or 3 months. And at the end of it, I'll give you a certificate and I'll post you it to you.
Well,
wherever you are.
What better things can you do with your COVID time than some correspondence course on masonry, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we're going to post your email for people to read in links in our podcast postings, and don't be surprised because we have pretty good following and you get some interest for that. I hope so. Anyways.
Well, you say, just to give you an idea for the entered apprentice, there's 4 papers. There's only 12 altogether, but there's 4. The first one will take you 15 minutes to read. The second one, 8 minutes to read. The third one, 14 minutes to read. And the last one, which is about the origin of Freemason, 20 minutes to read. And then you can just write the answer down, send it to me. And if you've made a mistake, I'll be very happy to tell you. And the other one is famous Freemasons, and I've done that for the youngsters coming in. I've done as far as the Freemasons in Space, Robbie Burns, Paul Revere, St. John A. MacDonald, the McLaughton brothers, and Joseph Guillotine. He's an interesting one anyway. Also, I did one on masonry on display. If you've got a lodge that wants to put a display onto the general public, it explains what I did and how I did it. The photographs are all useful, but I did things like I had one cabinet which had got all the Bibles, the words of the memory's terrible, isn't it? It explains all of the different religions. I got the Quran in there. I got the Torah. I got they couldn't get the Sikhs. The Sikhs have to put theirs to bed every night, and the museum said no way was it going to lift that off with a crane, give it to them, and then put it back the next morning. So they gave us some text that would work, and it did. We even had one. You're not drinking enough, and I had one little Sikh come up to me crying his eyes out because we'd put his words in the book. But it was great. We put all the dress uniforms. Nothing in it was spoiled, but you can read it. I did one on Ashler College because a lot of people like to use that. And I did an explanation of the ritual. So when you've done your entered apprentice ritual and you're now an entered apprentice, it's a paper that tells you what you actually did. And it's all in simple language. And I've done that for the 3, the entered apprentice, the fellow craft, and the master mason for the Canadian ritual and for the ancient ritual.
Well,
then there's the ancient
ritual. So in the ancient ritual, their prove up is basically their recap, and it tells them what they actually did, right?
Yeah, I know.
You know, that's one of the cool things about the ancient work versus the Canadian work, right? Is the prove ups. Mind you, everybody says they're fearful of joining an ancient lodge because the prove ups are so challenging and long, right?
Yeah. That's about it. The other one is bulletins that I send out to the new members, especially during this COVID. And even if it's not a COVID, it's a long time sometimes between when they go to through each stage. And so I get a bulletin that I look to where they come from. So the ones in that you get there, you'll probably find there's a lot about San Diego and America. There's a lot down in the other countries in South America, because they're the people that I was aiming for. And the preparation for the candidate for his initiation, that's really a paper explaining it all to him again. So there they are. I send them, we transfer, and it's all help yourself. And if you want to use any of them, the only one you can't use is the King Solomon's tracing board, which is the correspondence course. That's one is under property.
So, Bill, as we are coming down to the time limit on our free version of Zoom here, we get an opportunity for you to spread whatever good message you want to all our listeners and followers that are going to see this episode online for years to come. What is it you want them to know? What message do you want the people?
I want them to know that this is what I tried to do and how I tried to get the education, because I think it's very important. But it's not just the education. It's trying to tell them they should be enjoying going through the 3 degrees. They shouldn't have to have a worry about it. So I've tried to explain what they're likely to come up across, and it's nothing to be frightened of. And I think that is the most important thing, because these people that are coming through, they're our future. They're the next generation. There might be a few like me that'll still be a master mason at the end of the day, but most of them will go through the chair because they live at one spot. As I explained, I've never stayed anywhere long enough. In fact, we thought of selling the house and living in a hotel, but we never stayed anywhere longer to do that. But that's the life that we led. But I enjoyed my masonry, and I've met so many fascinating people. And with a lodge number 8,185, when I was going to join number 1 lodge in Calgary, in Alberta, they have a rule that the person with the highest mother lodge number does the festive board. Well, I hadn't got any choice. Nobody was even approaching 8,000, and I was over 8,000. So guess who did the talk every time? But I couldn't even stay in Alberta long enough. So they moved me on again. But then that was my life, and I did enjoy it. So the other thing is, as I said, is this package is for master masons only. But I was asked by a fellow craft member, can you pass me something that will keep my interest going during this COVID? And I said, well, I'll do what I can. So as a gift for Christmas, this is going to be going out early in December, the legacy for the craft, for the fellow craft. And all the master mason stuff will be taken out, and they can read it. They can see what they went through, and it might help them when they go and have to do the proof up for the fellowcraft degree, you know. So if you want that, just ask, and that's really all I've done. I'd hate to see it all be thrown away, all the papers disappear into somebody's depth. I want people to use all of it. And there's a lot of people that do want to use it, and they're very, very welcome. So if you think you push that out, and don't be frightened about sending me an email and saying you want it. I love it. I sit there at this desk all the time, and I love sending this thing out. So that is it. Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, with that, sir, thank you very much for being here on behalf of Worship Brother Stephen Chung and myself. Thank you again for being here, and I'm sure we'll get your links to your projects and such in the show notes. We'll make David do that when he gets back from vacation. And I just want to cap off by saying I continue to be impressed with the material that comes out of the Grand Lodge of British Columbia and the Yukon. And frankly, I'm a little jealous of the high quality education and programs that come out of your Grand Lodge there. It's your group of Masons there. It's very impressive. So with that, thank you all for being here, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Working Tools podcast. Goodbye.